Welcome to another episode of Corporate CPR, where we breathe life back into your organization, projects, and processes, giving you insights to recovery and avoiding corporate mortality events. Today, we'll be talking about how average employees are impacting your profitability, and joining us to contribute to the conversation is Danielle Mulvey. Sorry, after all of that, I still screwed it up.
That's okay. No problem. It's so nice to be here, Jana.
Oh, thank you. Can you share a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I am an entrepreneur. I started my first business at the ripe old age of 25, which is almost 25 years ago. Today, my husband and I own several businesses that do over $50 million in annual revenue. And I spend about 10 hours a week overseeing the operations of these existing businesses because I have 5-star employees in the businesses doing the work that they need to be doing. And so I can work on the business and on new ventures.
Well, so maybe that's a good place to start. Let's talk about what does it mean to have a 5-star employee, and then we can talk about how the other ones might be impacting profitability.
Exactly. So a 5-star employee represents the top 15% of available talent in the market. So statistically, 1 out of 7 candidates is a potential 5-star employee. A 5-star employee takes ownership. We actually have a rating system so that you can objectively rate talent on a 5-star scale. And people are really familiar with rating based off of a 5-star scale. And I mean, would you go to eat at a restaurant that was 2 or 3 stars on Yelp? No. So why would you hire an employee that is a 2 or 3-star average ho-hum employee?
And so, so what are some, I guess, those categories, and how did you even arrive at which ones were important?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I was fairly young, really naive when I started my first business, and it was an advertising and marketing agency in Nashville. We were doing over $1 million in our first year and scaling pretty quickly. And my brilliant hiring strategy of a 25-year-old was to hire people younger than me, because if they were younger than me, they wouldn't know that I really didn't know what I was doing because they had no experience themselves. And it worked okay with my first few hires. And then one Monday morning, I woke up and said, can I call in sick to my own company?
Mm.
Because I did not want to go into my own business that I had loved up until this point, because I didn't want to deal with let's just say, a toxic employee who was just killing morale,
Mm.
just not on board with making client changes per client request, the basics of advertising and marketing. And that's really the moment when I said, I've got to get serious about this. I have no idea when it comes to hiring people, and I've been lucky, and now I've been unlucky, and I need to fix this. So really, for the last 25 years, I have become obsessed with processes and systems and being consistent and objective about recruiting and hiring. And that is kind of like the secret to how I've gotten to where I am today.
Mm.
And building businesses that run themselves to a certain degree. I'm active in the businesses. I'm there for the daily huddle or the vitamin C meetings, depending upon the organization. So I am very much in touch with the organization. I'm just not in the business working in the businesses.
Mm-hmm. And so, let's talk a little bit about this. One of the famous things was, I think it's Jack Welch, who
Oh
is
yeah.
always firing the bottom 10%. Um, and, I've seen it, in my opinion, work poorly, and maybe I'm wrong. So I would love to get your thoughts. There is a retail organization that somebody always had to be a bottom performer. So in this concept of always having to be a bottom performer, even if you had a store full of top performers, somebody had to be a bottom performer.
Right.
And that person had to be performance managed,
Mhm.
which is in my opinion, a morale killer, because I actually found myself in that group one time. And it just happened suddenly overnight. One day I was fine, and the next day I was suddenly the bottom performer, and nothing about my performance changed. I was like, well, this is interesting. So yeah, tell me a little bit about your thoughts there, because it sounds like you're saying no, you can have a team of all top performers.
Exactly. So Jack Welch, really in his days at GE, they practiced top grading. And actually, I studied top grading and I implemented top grading 20 years ago. And top grading is about categorizing employees and giving them a grade of an A, B, or C employee. An A employee is great, a B is room for improvement, and a C is just, average. And the interesting thing about top grading is, I mean, this is a methodology and a system that is at this point at least 30 years old today. And, so much has changed in terms of the internet, technology, and so but nothing's changed with top grading. So top grading really hasn't evolved, and there's so many other ways now to objectively measure people's potential, talent, and success. And so, you mentioned that all of a sudden, you were doing the same job, you were doing fine, and now you're a bottom performer. So top grading is trying to like bump up and seeing kind of where the ceiling is. So, when you started, maybe doing well was, I'm just going to say, if you were processing claims, maybe doing well was 30 claims per day. And then, by eliminating those people, now that average needs to move up to 35 claims a day. And you were doing 35 claims a day from the beginning, and you were above that 30. But now, as you keep whittling those people away, you're kind of pushing up and up the ceiling, which is fine and which works okay. But there's comes to a point where it becomes unrealistic to a certain degree. And so it is important. I mean, one of the criteria in the 5-star employee rating system is success metrics. So there should be a quantified, objective measure of success to an employee's 3 to 5 key responsibilities. So you've got to attach a number, a dollar sign. You have to quantify what success means so that people understand what is expected of them in that role, and what success looks like. So it's really black or white. You're either making it or you're not making it. And over time, things can improve, and because processes and systems improve, and you can do more faster, because software has been updated, et cetera. So top grading, I don't want to bash it, but it's basically, very structured. It's interview based, and it doesn't utilize really any other objective forms of measurement like assessments or other things in terms of more objectivity.
So, you mentioned something then about all this like objective measuring, and, Daniel Pink talks about, I think it's being in the intellectual era or something like that, where everything's about like a lot's about creativity and mind work. And, and in some ways, some things are easy to see, right? Like you could say sales, how much revenue are you bringing in, or how many good leads, qualified leads are you bringing in? Marketing, what's your ROI on, I can't remember the term, but like the response that you're getting on what you're putting out there. But in some of these other ones that are,
like an admin, a lot of people struggle and think, oh, an admin doesn't add value to the company. They're just behind the scenes. They're not helping revenue. And so I would disagree with that. So as I mentioned, you've got the success metrics as one of the criteria of the 5-star employee rating system. You also have 3xing, or getting the return on payroll for employees. So for every employee you have, they should be having a 3x impact on revenue. And that's kind of how you keep yourself in line. People are always asking, like, what should my payroll budget be? I won't get into the details of Profit First. I am the host of Profit First Nation, the official podcast for Profit First, and I'm mastery certified as a Profit First professional. So I won't geek out totally on numbers, but even a person like an administrative assistant. So, an administrative assistant in my organization is supporting me, for example, and they are taking the $20 tasks off my plate, because if I'm doing something for that I can pay someone $20 to do, then I'm losing money if my billable rate is $500 an hour. Why am I doing $20 an hour work when I should be doing $500 an hour work? So it becomes quantifiable in terms of impact and how much they're taking off the plate. So, an administrative assistant should be taking 35 hours a week off of my plate and doing that $20 an hour work instead of me doing it. Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure. That's how I always measure, like whether or not I need to hire somebody. Am I doing too much that I can delegate to somebody else? Yeah,
And
I guess I was thinking.
sometimes it applies to other people in your organization too. I mean, my assistant has had an assistant, and in the past, because we had a huge, like, 1-year special project. So we hired someone and offshored, that part of the work. So it can apply to not just the owner of the business, but to other people in the organization.
Yeah, no, I guess I was thinking more along the lines of people where maybe their quality of work is difficult to measure because it's so in that creative space or consulting, right? Advice giving. And so, like, to me, obviously, if you're consulting, it comes to mind, you get your customer satisfaction, but that's just one metric, right? Like, how are you judging the quality, so to speak, of the advice being given or things like that? I was talking about in those more intellectual roles, like
Oh, sure.
metrics.
So as you mentioned, client feedback surveys, referrals would be another great source. So if you were consulting on someone and they experienced a transformation and they got the results, then they're going to refer you. So there's lots of different ways. It does take a little bit of really, like, peeling back layers and challenging yourself to say, how can we measure this? But I promise you, everything really, really can be measured. I mean, I've worked with entrepreneurs who own daycare centers. I've worked with people who own structural engineering firms, doggy daycares. I mean, you name the industry, and it's really interesting how there is always a way to, on 3 to 5 key responsibilities, quantify what success looks like for each of those responsibilities.
I'd like to see, it's kind of unrelated maybe to this topic specifically, but something that I've been thinking about in this space is really moving away from this concept of, 40 hours and you get a salary or whatever, and more about deliverable based pay, meaning, I pay you $80,000 and this is what I expect out of you at the, once I've paid you the 80,000. It sounds like maybe some of that could help.
Well, so we actually do that in one of our businesses. So we have a business that processes long-term care claims for the state of California Employee Pension and Retirement System. And so we are looking for an average of processing 45 claims per day. That is one of our success metrics. The other success metric is that they're processing with 98% financial accuracy and 95% procedural accuracy. So we've got 3 metrics associated with what success looks like in the role. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, sometimes a claim can be a just tough nut to crack. And it could take a couple hours. And then other ones are like, boom, boom, you can get it done in 10 minutes. Right. And so, you're kind of measuring and you get a report every day to see what your average is. So, like, you want to maintain that 45 claims average. But if you have a day where you can bang out 60 claims and it takes you 5 hours in an 8-hour shift to do that, great. Bang out those 60 claims. When you hit 16 claims, email your supervisor, let them know, send them the screenshot, and we'll pay you for an 8-hour day. So So if you hit 60, now we're looking for 45 average, but if you exceed the average in one day, we'll pay you for the whole day.
Mhm.
So that could be an example and one way that we do it. But I agree, people's productivity, no one is productive, me included, 8 hours in an 8 hour shift.
Yeah.
So, I do challenge the notion, and we do things, there's different ways that you can look at things, to, get optimal productivity in a day so that you are like banging out more. And it's interesting because, we have so many digital distractions, and our employees are digitally distracted too, not with their personal digital, but with Slack, with email, with the pressure to respond to clients as soon as they email you. It's like, well, how can you get anything done if you've got to respond to clients, within an hour of them emailing you? It just kind of piles up. And so, there are strategies about working smarter, and more focused so that you can get more done. But that's another day and another topic.
Yeah, another topic. So, I guess one of the things I've come across, not so much on the 5 point scale, but just in my thought process. And, we've worked with lots of companies, being a consulting company. But, so we talk about, we got, you get the rock stars, right? You get the ones who are high performers. They want to go far. They're motivated. They're whatever. I had, and I always call them the thoroughbreds, but then you get these, workhorses where they may not be phenomenal, but they're steady and they're consistent and they're reliable, and they're going to get the job done. They're probably not going to go further than their current job. They might do some sort of lateral move or something, but they're just not ambitious. And I find a lot of value in them. So I don't know where those type of people would fall on your 3-star or your 5-star rating system, because I think there's still value in that mix.
So we don't use the term rock stars because a rock star is just out of the park. And you're right, they're probably not in the right role if it's just so easy for them. If it's too easy for them and they're just absolutely blowing it out of the park, they're probably not in the right role. So, definitely what you're looking for is you're looking to get the work done. And so when you go through the 5-star employee rating system, you are assessing potential. You are assessing their mindset and their skill set to do the job. And another one of the criteria in the 5-star rating system are the 11 universal qualities of a 5-star employee. So regardless of role, we've identified 11 universal qualities that, really are representative in all 5-star employees. And what's interesting about the 11 qualities is 2 of them are, we color code them green, meaning they're relatively easy to change. If someone's not demonstrating it in the interview process, with some coaching and such, it's easy to happen. And one of those, for example, is learning. A lot of people, and especially employees, they don't live and breathe like entrepreneurs. Like we are like information content consuming junkies and such. And we're exposed to organizations and different things where we can just gobble up lots of information. And employees, they just live in a different world to a certain degree. And so sometimes they don't know what they don't know. So, if someone's not demonstrating, this incredible knowledge, it doesn't mean that if they were exposed to it or if they were given it, that, there's an opportunity for them to learn. And then 2 of the qualities are coded red, and they are literally red flags. And if someone does not have these qualities, like that, stop right there in the process. They do not proceed any further. And these 2 red ones are being limber and listening. So when we talk limber, we are not using what I am calling the F word right now, which is flexible, because employees like the word flexible, but their perception and definition of flexible is different than what an employee needs in terms of flexibility. Okay. So what an employee wants in terms of flexibility is they want to be able to take time off here, show up there, a lot of flexibility in their schedule, where they work, etc. what an employer needs is an employer needs consistency, but they need someone who's limber. They need someone who's amenable to change,
Right.
someone who likes to improve upon processes and systems. They're not rigid. They're not stuck. Oh, you know what? Could you stay late today? You want someone who says, yes, absolutely, no problem. You don't want someone who's watching the clock and being like, nope, I gotta go. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you want limber.
Mhm.
And you also want people that can listen. I mean, this is one thing that either people are great active listeners or they're not. And especially in small business, you need ears to the ground. In active listening is listening with all the senses, not just auditory, but seeing what's happening and being able to process things, and really paying attention. And so those two are red, and then the other ones are gray, which means they can change. It just would require some coaching and such. So we've covered, I think, 3 of the stars in the 5-star employee rating system. We've covered the 11 universal qualities. We've covered the 3Xing or return on payroll, and we've covered the success metrics for the key responsibilities. Do you want to know the other 2?
Sure.
Okay. So we also have aptitudes and skills. So there are, we've got a list of aptitudes, and so it doesn't matter if someone can say they can do it, they need to show that they can do it. So we challenge employers to really identify like 9 to 13 aptitudes and pepper in some skills as well that you can test your candidates on, so that they can demonstrate that they do have the skill set. They do have the ability to do what you need them to do in the role. I mean, it's amazing how many people would hire a bookkeeper just because someone says, yeah, I'm a bookkeeper, and never test them for it. 90% of companies fail to test for the skills that they need for the role. They're just believing that someone says, yeah, I'm a bookkeeper. And you know what? Hey, I could get a job literally tomorrow as a bookkeeper, but guess what? I'd be a 2-star bookkeeper. I can do it, and I know enough to be dangerous. But easily, I could get a job tomorrow. And that's the other interesting thing about the 5-star employee rating system is it's specific to the role. I might be a 2-star bookkeeper, but I'm a 5-star entrepreneur.
Mm.
And then the really the most important of the 5-star rating system criteria is alignment with core values. How many times do you hear business owners, entrepreneurs, or managers going, oh, if I could just clone myself, I just need 10 of me. Well, that DNA is in your core values. And so when you have employees who align with the owner's true 100% of the time core values, you're really getting the people that will think and act like you. And isn't that what you want? And so that's actually the first star in the 5-star employee rating system is alignment with core values, because that's sort of the secret sauce to your organization and the DNA of your culture, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that, I think it's really important to spend time. It can't just be something written on the wall. It has to be something that
Oh
you,
yeah, and you need a clarifying statement. You're exactly right. You've got a list of things, and but your take on ownership might be different in terms of what I think ownership is. So it's so important to define exactly what you mean.
when we kicked it off, we were talking about how your 1, 2, 3-star employees can impact profitability. So let's talk a little bit about that. I'm sure some of it's intuitive already based on what we said, but let's talk about it more concretely.
Yeah. So one 5-star employee does the job and the work of 2 or 3 1, 2, or 3-star employees. So when you have 1, 2, and 3-star employees on your payroll, you have a bloated payroll because you're paying more people than you should be paying. For every 2 3-star employees, you're paying $50,000 to, that's $100,000 in payroll. Well, if you could replace those 2 people at $100,000 with one 5-star employee, And that 5-star employee is going to do the work of those 2 3-star employees for $50,000 too. So you could be saving 50%. You could be saving $50,000 because you get the maximum productivity out of a 5-star employee. And, you know, a 5-star employee loves what they do. They love to work. I was writing a piece today and I was like, these kind of people, because they're so passionate about what they do and they enjoy it so much, they love what they do. They love to work. These people would even work if they won Mega Millions. Where you have like a 3-star employee who is doing the job and they're working to live. They're collecting a paycheck. They need to do it, but it's not the right fit. And just because they might be a 3-star bookkeeper, it doesn't mean that they can't be a 5-star employee. They're just in the wrong role. They're in the wrong seat, probably on the wrong bus.
Yeah, we call the first one, we say treating it as a craft, not a career. About, you know, that it's more than just a job. It's actually something that you care about beyond the 9 to 5. And then, yeah, very much about the getting the right people on the bus.
Yeah, and everyone has that. You know, I mean, I think back to I was a flight attendant in my gap year after college, and I mean, I did not enjoy that job. It was a job, you know, but I worked with other people who absolutely loved the job. It was their craft, it was their passion, it was what they were born to do, and not for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it took me a long time. It took me I don't know, probably 10 years to find the thing that really interests me. I mean, I was changing jobs every year and a half. I've done it all, really, from like stocks to legal to catching bad guys to making movies.
Wow.
Although I did like making movies, but that was kind of a tough environment. Um but yeah, it took a really long time to figure out what it was that got me excited and made me tick. And well, so I mean, I guess, do you have is part of what you do help connect people to the right seat on the bus, not just, you know.
Yeah. So you know what's interesting is in you know hiring 5-star employees is not easy because you're looking for the top 15% of available talent. It's a numbers game. If 1 out of 7 candidates is a potential 5-star employee, you need to cast a wide net. You need to get as many applicants as possible to find that golden needle in the haystack. You need 21 applicants to have 3 potential 5-star candidates. And you know, sometimes the better candidates and are people that already have jobs and aren't looking on the job boards. And so many employers are just posting on a job, posting on Indeed, and that's it, or sharing it on LinkedIn, and that's it. And that's really only attracting the people that are, you know, actively seeking and looking for a job. And you're kind of shorting yourself on that. So, you know, when you talk about like helping people find like what they're good and what they're passionate about, we're actually working with entrepreneurs right now because we've seen, especially like with entry-level positions, that the pipeline of just people to do that job kind of dried up during COVID. And it was partially because, well, it was COVID and schools were closed and things just kind of stopped, and it really impacted things that, you know, I mean, I think of the preschools that we work with, and, you know, with those schools with the colleges closed, especially in California, where I'm based out of, you didn't have, you know, people going through to become early education teachers at the junior college level. So it really has kind of slowed things down. So we're actually working with the members of our program now on how they can develop academies to kind of like vet and help people, you know, determine, hey, you know, is this kind of the right thing for you? And we've got people kind of doing and running with that idea in different ways. And you kind of think of it like training camps, like in sports, you know, when football season starts and they open training camp, I mean, they cast a wide net invite 150 guys to football training camp, and then they're whittling them down as the process goes. And but they're creating opportunity to test talent. And so I mean, this is probably again another topic for another episode, but so we've got clients that are doing this in different ways, and kind of letting people kind of test the ropes. An easy way to do this as well, and we do this in our organization, is we do shadow days. So when you get to the end of our hiring gauntlet, and we're about to make you the offer, we invite you in for a shadow day. So, some of our businesses are 100% remote, some are in office. So it depends upon the situation. You can do an in-office or a remote shadow day. Absolutely. And it's usually about 4 to 6 hours. And, that person is experiencing what a day of the life is like in your organization doing that job. We pay people for their time on a shadow day. And, I think to one candidate we had in our construction material supply business, he had been in the property management industry and wanted to get into construction. Exciting, different, always new projects, etc. So, he got to the end, and he got to the shadow day, and he actually did 2 shadow days with us back to back. And at the end of the second shadow day, he said, you know what? I think I'm going to stay in commercial and property management. This isn't what I really thought it would be. And I think I'm good. And I was like, great, no problem. I think we paid him $250 for 2 days of his time. And that was it. What a great return on my money, because I didn't hire him because he said he wanted to work in construction, and he said he was passionate about, changing industries, and was so excited that this opportunity came up, and then have him join and, work and try to do this for 2 weeks before he realizes this sucks. And he goes back to looking for another job, and then just is collecting a paycheck for another 2-3 months until he finds that other job, and then leaves me. And then I'd be out, 3-4 months of salary on someone who wasn't the right fit. So shadow days is an easy way to check the box on that.
Wasn't it Zappos who was paying people to quit?
Yeah. If you really hate this, exactly, they do that. So
it's interesting. Well, so I guess, do you have any advice if you find yourself with a 1, 2, or 3-star employee and they already made it through the cracks?
You need to transition them out as soon as possible to alumni status. Okay. You're going to transition them to alumni status. Let's be honest. They know they're not doing a great job. You've had conversations with them. Probably you've talked to them about their performance, and nothing has changed. And oh my gosh, please don't throw more money at them. I mean, so many times people think, oh, if I pay them $10,000 more, they'll work harder. I can give them more responsibility. No, that never works. If you've tried it once, it doesn't work. So don't be tempted to do it again. And so you've got to get those people out, because if you let them stay and you do have 5-star employees on your staff, they'll start to become frustrated and resentful that this guy only is doing 35 claims a day when the average needs to be 45 claims a day, and I'm doing 50 claims a day, and this guy is kind of putting the pressure on us because we're not meeting the numbers as a team. So the 5-star employees are going to leave faster than the 3-star employees. So that's why you need to, clear the runway and transition them to alumni status as quickly as possible, because you know what, they're always going to be better off in the next job, in the next position, because they're not successful in the current position.
Right. Yeah. That's actually, I used to talk about employee engagement, and we talk about at conferences, and nobody wants to fire anybody. And I'm like, why is it a disservice to the employee keeping them there? And it takes the audience a while, but they eventually get around to, well, if it's not the right spot for them, they could be happier somewhere else.
Yeah. I didn't use the word fire. I said, you're going to transition to alumni status. And they'll be happier for it at the end. I mean, you can't console someone when you say, it's time to transition to alumni status. So it's important to just get them out of the organization as quickly as possible so that they can move on with their life. Maybe it's providing some resources to them, and helping them, kind of get back on
They're
their.
still human, even if
Yeah,
they're not a right fit.
exactly. And, right now is the best time to do it because there are so many businesses hiring and desperate for people. So this is the time to make any transitions that you need to make.
Interesting. Well, Danielle, this has been really fun conversation. Do you want to share kind of the top 3 things you want to leave with folks?
Yeah. So I hope that you realize that you can never settle. You've got to stick it out. You've got to follow a process in a system like the 5-star employee rating system. Be objective with your hires and never settle for less than 5-star employees. So that was the 3 things. Use a 5-star employee rating system, be objective, and never settle for less than 5-star employees.
That's great. And where can folks connect with you or learn more about what you do?
Sure. So I know I kind of whizzed through it and was peppered in and out, but I do have how the guide on how to hire 5-star employees, where it goes through each of the 5 criteria in the 5-star employee rating system. And you can get that by texting never settle as one word, never settle as one word, to 411-321. So text never settle to 411-321 and you'll get the guide.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thanks so much. And we'll include all of that in the show notes as well. So thank you so much for your time, Danielle.
Yeah, cheers to going all in.
And to our audience, until next time, keep your organization.